Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. We are continuing our reading of this text with concerning radical feminism, and we have gone quite deep into this text. It has been a long journey, and I think I've done pretty good in refuting some of her ideas, expanding upon her ideas, and then seeing where we have common ground. So, let's continue upon that journey. Inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman rahim. I have noticed with some confusion that whenever I speak in public about women's liberation, I am immediately told by a number of far-right strangers not just that I am lying, but that there's a specific punishment for my lies. I deserve to be R-worded. Brutally. I don't believe you. Sorry. I don't think any grown adult is saying you deserve to be R-worded. Men who do R-ing, I have to say that because censorship on YouTube. I think you know what I'm talking about. R-A-P-E. But even men who do that, they don't say that. You might get that in some like strange direct message, but in person, I don't think so. Brutally by migrant or Muslim men. So, that's true. Who says that? The attempt to silence women's voices with our threats and fantasies of SA is nothing new. But the form of the fantasy currently deserves attention. I am, after all, a white woman. Okay, here we go. So she just said she's white. This whole time I kind of thought she was black. She's a self-hating white, and I still think she's a black supremacist. Because the way she fetishizes black skin, if I was black, and I heard someone, like, praising my skin shade and hating their own that was opposite of mine, I would be freaked out and call her a cult member and stay the hell away from her. I'll tell you that right now. Okay? Like, I don't got no time for people who are fanatical about skin shade, at least according to those corners of the alt-right Grand Falloon that have yet fully embraced anti-Semitism. Ugh. So now, okay, so wait a minute. If you are a Semitic person, you're non-white. If she's talking about the Jays, they are, if they follow their text, they're not, see, this is the hard part. Those who are ethnically Jays, and then they're atheists, like Novo Harari. But then there's religious ones that are Hasidic, who have strict rules, and they're more conservative. So who does she hate within that group that she's trying to bring up? Technically, I'm in the demographic they're supposed to be protecting, but part of the violent heterosexuality of white supremacy involves deciding just who does and does not merit that protection. Okay, so she obviously clearly hates heterosexuals, and she's okay with black supremacy, any other racial supremacy except for pale folk, and that's why I can't take her serious. Whether a particular white woman gets inside the notion perimeter fence depends on how well she plays her part. Is she well-behaved, respectful, and crucially hot? If she's not, well, throw her to the outsiders and see how she likes it. Okay, so one point is that behaved, will you keep a dog that has mauled part of your leg off? No, you're gonna get the Old Yeller treatment. If you haven't seen the movie Old Yeller, you won't get the reference. But if you're super disrespectful, you can go on and get out. You're disrespectful to your boss and disbehaving at work, you're fired. You can't expect to treat people with disrespect and have a terrible behavior and then want protection from those people. Sorry. That ain't the way it works. Sorry, that's just not gonna happen. The fantasies of feminists and other unruly females being violated by outsider men are so common and so detailed that one can only conclude that someone's getting off on them. No one of this is to say that R-wording and sexual violence do not exist outside white majority communities. Okay, so I'm glad she said that, because you could say, hey, there's women in other cultures who get R-worded, so why are you just blaming white males? So I'm glad she identified that she's not trying to say only whites R-word. But white supremacists are hardly queuing up to set outreach projects for women and LGBTQ youth of color, or lobbying for more refugees fleeing sexual and homophobic abuse to be given asylum. Okay, so when oh man, you could go into this topic, but YouTube won't let you. That's the beauty of liberal atheist censorship. But when men are in prison and they often R-word each other and they're gay, you know, so that should be remembered. The idea of outsider R-wording is symbolically useful to white supremacist patriarchy. So these are buzzwords with her. White supremacist patriarchy so are you okay with a black supremacy matriarchy? Because if you flip it, then it's not the system, but rather your bigotry. If you want a matriarchy, then you just hate men and prefer women to be in power. It's not about having true equality. You know, and if you hate white supremacy, but you're fine with Asian supremacy or Semitic supremacy and any other type, then you don't really care about racism as you fond present. If the bodies of white women are still the one territory all white men are supposed to have in common, defending white women from outside attack transforms white men into a class defending their common interests. White women don't get a say in whether or not they want this protection. Do you want people to ask you, hey honey, I don't know you, you're just a white lady, but do you want to be protected from R-wording? I think most women would say, yeah. I don't want a man to just whip out his phone and then watch it happen. You know, that's not something that... It's a piece of lint here. That's not something that I want. They're property after all, not people. Property isn't supposed to talk back. My husband's my property. Okay, what does that mean? You want to get symbolic? No one's allowed to touch him unlawfully. I invested in him. So, you touch my investment, we're gonna have a problem. Got it? So, if a criminal tries to hurt my husband, who's my romantic property, who is my provider, he belongs to me, we have a marriage contract, okay? Within this contract, we have rights upon each other. He is my object. Criminal touches him, I'm going to neutralize that threat. I'm going to protect my property. I don't see property as a bad thing. It's kind of kinky in a way. I've never seen so many men worked up about women's rights as at the rally to defend the women of Europe. It was a cold April day at Speaker's Corner in London in 2018. Okay, so she mentioned Speaker's Corner. Rally to defend women of Europe. And the neo-nationalist group Generation Identity, never heard of them, had called a public protest against sexual violence, specifically sexual violence by Muslim men against white women. And the attendees were almost all men, dozens of them, on a cold Sunday morning in suits and ties and bomber jackets, bristling with half-formed febrile opinions and alarming facial topiary. Okay, hold on. I don't know about this protest, okay? And there's probably a lot of racism there. But why would you be mad that... Okay, even though she claims it's only for white women against Muslim men. When I think its reality is immigrant versus citizen, right? And the fact that they just don't like women being targeted in that sense. But let's take her word for it. Why would you have a problem with men speaking against any form of violence against women? Does it only bother her that white women were mentioned? So she is white, but she's fine with white women not being protected if other races can't be protected. I would prefer that the men defend everybody, but if they only pick one group, well, at least somebody's getting protection. You know what I mean? So it's very strange, her affection. It's almost like she's saying, if all women can't be protected, then no one can be protected, and that men don't have a right to choose who they want to protect. Women don't protect all men. That's something to think about, isn't it? They usually protect handsome men. But a radical feminist the other day told me on X, incels have no value. And I said, actually they do. They pay taxes into your welfare system for single moms. And she said, single moms don't pay taxes, LOL. And I was like, no, on average, majority of single mothers are in poverty and they live off the system and they don't contribute into the system as much as a single male does, because the tax rates are different. It's amazing, but not all women care about the ugly men of the world, ugly fat men who are broke. Nope. So that's why, why should she put parameters on people if she herself, she hates heterosexual men. So she's allowed to hate one specific group of men and want the worst for them, but these men who are part of some group called Generation Identity are not allowed to defend white women who are their favorites. But she can pick who she hates and then try to write an entire book about how straight white males are evil. Hypocrisy much? Hypocrisy much? I have in my time shuffled and stomped and plotted and wondered anxiously where the bathrooms were on many women's liberation inflected acts of public assembly. I have been one of an incandescent million-strong mob marching against the malevolent New World Order in Washington. Malevolent New World Orders? Wait a minute. I have been one marching against the New World Order in Washington. So you were against... Say what? I have traded play cards and snacks and barbed comments with hundreds of usual suspects on anniversary marches. The Hills and Anniversary March. I have worn out my best boots on the slut walks. Ew. Ew. The Amber Rose slut walk is disgusting. I have been part of weary little straggles of public defiance. How much time you got on your hands to go to these protests? What is going on? I have been part of weary little straggles of public defiance getting rained on outside government buildings in the dark. If the only feature that these women protests have had in common is that most of the people who go to them are women, but on this protest men outnumbered women by 10 to 1. A young white woman read a printed speech in the middle of concentric circles of angry men who would do anything to protect her from harm. Anything except look in the mirror. Okay, so why don't you show domestic violence rates by race in America? Why don't you show me that? Okay? And then show me, you could do a lot. Statistics, I do think it's getting skewed now because the fact that the science crowd allows biological males who identify as women to be their crimes to be recorded under women's crimes skews statistics. So I don't trust exactly every study, but it would be interesting. And there's been times where somebody was clearly a pale Latino and their crime gets classified as white. There's been that as well. You know, so shenanigans are afoot. The white women that modern neo-reactionaries claim to want to protect. Okay, this is a new term, kind of. Neo-Nazis, white supremacists, neo-reactionaries claim to want to protect are largely fictional. In fact, most of the actually existing white women these men have actually met are despised, specifically for not being blonde, submissive helpmeets of the tragic daydreams. Okay, so it's funny she mentioned that because I was just thinking about that today. Well, I was thinking about that. The blonde, you know, always smiling Barbie. I mean, that's what they like. Submissive helpmeets. There's nothing wrong with being a helpmeet. Look, I'm a dominant female. That means I have to have someone who's stronger than me. I have that. So there's no problem with me being a helpmate. It's when you haven't met the male who can out-dominate you. It doesn't mean you have to be fake and untrue. But what it does mean is that you can't, if you feel disgusted by the thought of being a helpmate, you haven't met someone who has brought that out in you naturally and has made you feel calm and you trusted them. This is something that isn't taught to a lot of girls. Now, there can be like a big buff dude and he has a, he's all like, rah, and you're just like, he's kind of probably going to be a player. He probably does cocaine. I'm not going to be into it. And then there's like a, hey girl, I want someone to go out to the cheese market with me. And you're like, oh, he seems nice and like I can control him. And that sort of, but then he's too needy, too clingy. And then you're like, he's got like a body like the streamer Destiny. You're like, he's not making my loins froth. So it's a balance, and you have to find that. It's like, I always describe it as going hunting. But there are some feminists who get mad at me for that, and they think the man should come to you. You know, he needs to bring things to the table. You have the table. He brings things to you to the table. But I'm speaking from the huntress perspective. And some women think you should never be. That you should be the damsel on the throne, and then the suitors bend the knee and seek you out. There's ways to get that, right? You know. But the way she talks is like, she doesn't, because she's very aggressive, very protesty, confrontational, combative, argumentative. So she has to find, she either wants to dominate a man, or she has to find somebody who can kind of naturally bring her down a notch. And that can cause a lot of, like, less cortisol. If you're always locking horns with a man, this can really make you more stressed out and age you faster. If you have confidence and trust in him, you have this sort of, there's going to be arguments and whatnot, because everybody argues, but you can still feel like there's something there. I hope she finds it, but again, women like her probably become very miserable lesbians. Because some lesbians, they're just very chill. They got their little hobbies and such. But there's different types of lesbians, but the butch kind, I don't see her being the type of chick that's gonna get a very pretty lesbian, but I don't see a butch lesbian putting up with this kind of attitude. Because when you notice a butch, they have sometimes very pretty ladies and such. So they still take on that male role, faulty as it may be. So I can't really see this woman the fact that she mentions blonde, it's like, yes, it's true. There are a specific type of woman, blonde hair, blue eyes, snow skin, who that's what some men like. And it's okay. You can't hate them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made our hair in all different shades, in beauty of all different kinds. Even the minerals, the rock minerals, they come in so many different colors. Marble, so many different types of veins, feathers on a bird, colors of horses, like scales on the fish, patterns on the snakes, the shininess on different beetles. It's just the way it is. You can't hate it. But again, I think she there's this struggle of like she wanted to be that, I think, really deep down. You can't hate that they like what they like. This is why I think the Huri al-Ain can really help women to calm down. The women of paradise. These beings of paradise, rather. You know, voluptuous breasts, wonderful big eyes. You know, that's what Allah made. So you gotta watch on your jealousy here. You know. So what is she's getting at? Oh, should you be a brunette or black haired and not be submissive, not be a helpmeet, and be his nightmare? So if you flip the opposites of what she's saying, you know. But there are some men who like toxic women. I mean, Ben Affleck just broke up with divorcing Jennifer Lopez. She's been divorced now 4 times, engaged 6 times. So, I mean, there's people out there who like a little bit of a headache. But he always looks so miserable. So what are you gonna do? This is a special sort of hatred, distinct from the ritual dehumanization reserved for women of color. Listen here. There are beautiful black women. Men will always take better care of the pretty girls. The ugly fat girls, men don't want to take care of them as much unless they have a huge amount of honor. But do women take care of all the ugly fat broke men? Nope. Why do you think men get so insecure about going bald? Because they lose that. Some ladies, they like a full head of hair, like Jason Momoa, Kit Harington hair. Me, I always like shaved heads. You know, only one person I ever dated really had like longer hair. I almost dated a second guy. He was a rockero. He was Mexican, played the guitar and had long hair. But I think that comes from my Cherokee roots. But because long hair. But for the most part, always shaved heads, beards, and mustache, or shaved head and mustache, Latino, with muscles and tattoos. That's what I like. So I like what I like. Men can like what they like, but men protect the pretty ones they like. Just like women, they won't protect men that they don't like. And when men start going bald, they try to get hair transplants, like Myron Gaines from Fashion Fit. He was balding. Chicks were making fun of him. He could have just shaved his head, but he decided to get a hair transplant. Joe Rogan talked about how he was insecure when he was starting to lose his hair, so he shaved it. Tim Pool was insecure about his bald, so he keeps that stinky, dandruff-ridden beanie on. You see, so because men think once they are not valued for their beauty, like hair like Brad Pitt, you know, hair like Salt and Pepper, George Clooney, then they start to get insecure. So, do women dehumanize men they don't find attractive? Yes. So I don't think it's that they hate black women. I think it's that they just only want to protect pretty women. Maybe that's the real bitter truth, which is sad in my opinion, but then again I realize my heart doesn't have the capacity to care about ugly men, but I will treat everyone with dignity, because that could be a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you treat people bad just because they're ugly, Allah can make you ugly. So you gotta watch how you behave with people. The hate white supremacists nurse for white women like me is milder and more personal. They don't want us wiped out. They just want us whipped into line, barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen of their crypto-nationalist daydreams. Sounds kind of hot. It's very, very nice to be... I wear socks. I can't be barefoot because I'm germophobic. I'm OCD, kind of have a problem. I like my feet to be clean at all times. But being pregnant in a nice loose outfit and, you know, with your husband, you don't have to use protection. You know, you can have intimacy as much as you want, and then finish inside. And you made that baby together, and you feel your baby move, and he comes home and he smells real nice, or he smells like work, which can be nice as well. And like, my husband works in restaurants and then does landscaping, so either he smells like food or pine trees or grass and such, and it smells quite nice. So it's really nice. I don't see anything wrong with that. It's a very feminine, relaxed way of being. And being pregnant is hard, no doubt about it, but it's really like, it's so nice when you can go out and there's like a koi pond nearby and you sit down, you have your decaf iced latte, your children or your other children are playing, and you're pregnant, and then you see your masculine man there and you're dressed nice in your Muslim clothing, and it's a beautiful day, the crows are out, the ocean scent is in the air. It's really peaceful. So don't let her paint this dreary picture. Okay? Don't. If she wants to run off into the thorns and the thickets and the wasteland, then let her go. Right? If there's a dog that keeps jumping the fence, sayonara. You don't want to stay in, have fun with the street dogs. You know? But when you care about a dog, you like, hey now, get inside, get in this in, you know, like, you have a certain way of behaving. But if you don't care, you just let them run free range with no parameters, no guidance, no overwatch, and then they get ran over by a car. And then the person will say, why didn't you want your dog? And then you realize, if you want to get into evolution or Darwinian survival of the fittest, dogs that learn to stay within the fence survive better than certain dogs that went out of the fence. You know, are you domesticated or are you free range and wild? So as a woman, you want to be free range and wild out there, you're going to take some scars. Okay? The horse outside the barn is going to have a different life than the horse within the barn. You know? Just the way it works. That's why in Islam, women stay in your houses. We're domesticated, so you gotta retire that, you know. In the kitchen of their crypto-nationalist daydreams, in a world where women only exist as supporting characters in male adventure stories. I'm fine with that. You want to be the supporting character? Let him take on all the adventures. Every main character in video games struggles. You notice that, you know. But I'm on my side quest. My side quest, make sourdough starter, side quest. Play with parrots, side quest. Right, I got some dough rising right now. Side quest. Try to make strawberry jelly from scratch. Side quest. Make cookies for the children. Side quest. Read this book. I got my side quest. I can be a side character. I'm the main character in my own consciousness. Obviously. But I don't see nothing wrong with being someone else's character in their story. You know. It is apparently impossible to fathom any reason any woman might want basic human rights. Honey, you have human rights. You can get a car. Look at all the laws in America. They got so many laws that if you were to put them all on a wall, we would not be able to read them all. There is law upon law upon law. Okay? And women have human rights. Oh, It's not a right for you to murder babies with abortion. Okay? The things that are illegal for men are often illegal for, like, if a man don't pay child support, he goes to jail. You have your baby killed in abortion, you don't go to jail. Think about that. Might want basic human rights other than to piss men off. Our stubborn, bitchy insistence on having suffrage, sexual agency, and subcutaneous fat is interpreted as personal insult. Okay, subcutaneous fat? Is she talking about cellulite? So, if you want to be fat and ugly, and it wasn't because you just had a baby, then like I said, women get disgusted by fat men unless they're rich. Biggie Smalls was incredibly ugly and fat, but he had Lil' Kim all over him. A fat man with money who's jolly, he's gonna have birds around him. A jolly fatty. And a lot of women like fat men because they can keep them in line. They like fat men who have low self-esteem with wallets that are large as their stomachs. And that's a different type of personality that some women like. The stark contrast, because he'll worship her. You should only worship Allah. But let's not pretend like she doesn't understand this. So she said, bitchy insistence on having suffrage. Sexual agency. You already have sexual agency. Okay? You already have that. But you're not going to be free from being called out for your irresponsible behavior. I remember seeing a TikTok of a girl who got genital warts. And she said how painful it was. If you glorify hookup culture, you're literally ruining lives and spreading disease. Okay? This is the way it is. Subcutaneous fat is interpreted as a personal insult to every straight man. So are you saying that gay men don't like fit men? Because that's not true. If you look at some of the bougie fashion model gay men who are very up in the higher echelons of society, they've got six packs, abs, Botox, and they dress very well. Only like a fat gay man is like a failure. Gay men are very judgmental to each other's bodies. And when you see a bougie gay guy, who drives a nice car, nice clothes, who has money, they don't like fat. They don't like fat. In fact, others pointed out in history that it was the gay men working in fashion who made the models be anorexic. And that the gay men in fashion were making fashion so strange that it wasn't attractive to heterosexual men. So like pure like skin and bones was like being a coat hanger for the clothes, and gay men liked that. They had a different vision, a different perception of female beauty. But what a straight man finds attractive in a woman is going to be quite different than what a gay man thinks is attractive. And gay men don't like fat usually. If someone's a fat gay man, that's his thing. Like TJ the Amazing Atheist, he likes men and women, and he's fat and disgusting. But his wife is fat, last time I checked. Right? But, as I said before, if you're attractive and in shape, men treat you better. Just like women do that. It's just something that people do. I can't say why that is. Maybe somebody who studied that, like evolutionary by psychology or whatever they call it, maybe they have an explanation for it. But a little bit of plump though shows that your body can hold on to fat during famines. That during winter and droughts, you got a little bit of body fat, you can still make milk and get pregnant. If you get too skinny, you can't make milk and you can't hold a pregnancy. So having a little bit of something in the trunk, it helps. But again, I remember seeing, she mentioned this, Probably not. Japanese girls, there's like this part right here, you know, and would put water and then put a fish in it, and they would call it like they called it fishbone, and the girls would compete with who could, like, who had that. I don't have that because if you work out, you get a muscle there. I don't know what that's called. Traps? I don't know what it's called, but it's right here. You know what I'm talking about, right here. But they would compete in that. Japanese girls and Chinese girls, I think, were the first culture to really focus on very, very, very slender women. So is she gonna bring that up? Probably not. You know. White women who don't make the grade deserve to be punished for not performing white femininity well enough to deserve their sexual protection, which of course is also about erotic dominance. Well, I mean, straight men like femininity. If you want to be a fat, like an obese, catty, combative woman, you're gonna have a hard time. I mean, I once saw, okay, so let me put it this way. If you're fat and ugly and bitchy, men ain't gonna put up with that. But if you're attractive and a little bit mean, men will put up with it. It's just the way it is. I've seen this many times in my life where very beautiful friends of mine, they're a little bit like, I think a bit too mean with their men. And those men never walked away. It's just mean girls. Like, some men want a nice submissive helpmate who smiles and is like very smooth, and some men, they get like a spicy Latino. I've seen it. So it's like, but if they were fat, they couldn't get away with it. Could not. Nope. Like, you'll see some girls who are very beautiful and they may take his clothes and throw them off the balcony. He'll pick them up and they'll fight and go back inside. But if it was a big chunky and she did that, well, he might wake up. You know. I think it takes, like, if you have a skinny man and then his wife is really fat and she's beating up on him, he probably stays because of the culture, because he doesn't want to be divorced. And maybe when they married she was thin, but she's bigger now and he doesn't want a divorce because they have kids. But if you get big and it's not because of kids, you need to fix that. But it's just the way it is. Let me know what you think, because I'm sure you've seen some examples of this in your own life. It is vital to remember that this sort of white woman has never really existed. She is a story white men tell each other about womanhood, a sexual fantasy soaked in racist paranoia. The fact that she is fictional, however, does not make her any less dangerous. So do women not fantasize about an ideal man? They do it constantly. If he's a billionaire, make him rich. Make him fly me away on a private helicopter. Oh, that's why do people like the ballerina farm lady? Because she found a millionaire. I mean, come on. And she's blonde. And she was a ballerina. So, there are feminine blondies. And stuff like that. But plenty of women fantasize about men. I mean, Jon Snow and Khal Drogo, the amount of women who were gushing over them, it's like, whoa. And now they're doing it with Daemon Targaryen and House of the Dragon. You know, oh, I want a guy like that. It's like, what are you talking about? Women do it all the time. There are men out there committing murder in her name, and there are women too, many millions, trying to be her. The fact that white women too are harmed by the inhumanity of neo-fascism. So now we have a new term for her. She's using neo-fascism. Fascist. So it's not. So now we got fascism, but now we got neo-fascism. Okay. Should not be the deciding factor in getting anyone off the couch and into the streets to stop it. If white women were never directly victimized by neo-fascism, stopping neo-fascism would be no less urgent. However, that bodies of white women are of huge symbolic importance to white supremacy. What about black women's body for black supremacists like Umar Johnson or the Elijah Muhammad Nation of Islam people? Will she mention that? No. So it is symbolically significant when actual women who happen to be white put our actual bodies on the line to resist racism. Why then do so many do the opposite? Look, racism is always going to exist. You gotta just do the best you can. But your body's on the line, what does that mean? You going and rioting, it's not going to fix racism. And if you're virtue signaling... Okay, so there's something kind of weird going on here. She's white, as she said. But this entire book is shaming heterosexual white men. So, if somebody hates their own skin shade so much that they feel like they gotta go and now and be the white savior and denounce white supremacy and then like really fetishize black people, there's something weird about that. It's like is this how you get to the top of the woke pyramid? You know, this is like what you gotta do. You gotta denounce your whiteness and order your paleness and hate your own skin tone that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you so you can become like this ally. I don't know, if you're going so hard to prove you're not racist, I kind of think you are, and I think she is racist towards her own race. And you should be very careful of people who have that much animosity for their own being and for pale folk. How are you going to solve racism by being a racist? She is a racist towards whites. You know? It's kind of strange to me. Anti-feminism has been part of white supremacists' imagination for as long as the far right has existed. I think a lot of people hate feminism because it takes away the good women. I don't like feminism because it tells me I'm worthless if I want to be a stay-at-home mom. Oh, feminism was about choice. Not really. Because look how they talk about moms who stay home with their children. Oh, I don't want to just be a mom. I'm not here just to have babies, so that shows what you really think about women who put family first and don't really focus on monetary credentialism. So you do care about titles more than the souls of your own children. Because if you cared about women, you would have no problem with women staying home and not chasing, LinkedIn status. For as long as the far right has existed too, women have been part of it. And for as long as women have been part of the far right, they have acted as decoys, as soprano soloists for the baritone chorus of bigots, making special claims for white womanhood as protected category. The far right has never been a feminist movement, obviously, and women are invariably in the minority among the leadership and membership of movements for whom they provide plausible deniability. Women shouldn't be in leadership roles. As the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, any nation who appoints a woman will not prosper. Why would any woman cast in her lot with men who deny her humanity just to attack the humanity of others? Maybe that's their kink. Maybe that's what turns them on. That's a really tough answer, I don't think they deny her humanity. She just likes that vibe, I remember in that show, American History X, he curb stomps a black guy, I believe. I think it was a black guy. And his girlfriend, she likes him. She likes the Nazi dudes, the Peckerwoods. And once he starts being friendly with the black, and doesn't want to do that anymore. She hates him. So she liked him when he was attacking other groups, but when he didn't want to do that attack anymore and abandon that ideology, she didn't like him. So, what are you gonna do? People are gonna have their weirdness to them. But there are a lot of on Black Twitter, they call it, like, they say a lot of racist things towards whites. I don't like Pearl Davis at all, but when you see the racist things that black women say about her, that's pretty tense, and if you said it the other way, you would get banned from Twitter. So I see you can say anything about white women, which scares me because my kids look Latino, but my grandma, she gets old. Well, she is old. I don't want no one hurting her just because of her pale skin, It's scary, so gotta be careful with what you do in this world. You can't solve racism by being a racist. You can identify patterns and not like certain stereotypical behaviors of different groups, but to outright label an ethnicity, I think that's wrong. Racism is the reason for this, of course, but racism comes in a range of unhealthy flavors. When white women cast in our lot with white supremacy, when white women choose to side with racist patriarchy at the cost of our own personhood, when decoys like alt-right poster girl Lauren Southern claim, "Ooh, shots fired, shot fired," claim that there is no R-wording culture in the West. Okay, so she mentions Lauren Southern, but Lauren Southern just got divorced. She married a Fed, and she just got divorced, and she's turned her teeth on conservatives in a way, So we are making a specific choice about what side of the line to put our precious white bodies on. Well, I say all women's bodies are precious, regardless of the color of them, but she mocks it. So she would have no problem saying precious black bodies, but if you say precious white bodies, no, that's wrong. If you took her text and switched out the words, you would see what she's saying. That's what you have to do with these liberal women. You have to... I can't trust someone who thinks racism is okay towards whites, but not another race, and then tells me how good she is because she isn't racist. You see what I mean? I can't say, I don't have any hatred against cows, but if you eat brown cows, you're evil and should die. And it's like, what? Oh, I hate poisonous snakes. But if poisonous snakes are red, then I like them. It's like, what are you talking about? In the United States, more than half of white women voters chose Donald Trump in the 2016 presidential election and in the 2018 midterm elections. And the pattern was repeated in 2020. Why did they do it? Probably because he's funny. Probably there's like, Melania, I want to be her. But who is, Biden sucked. Who wants to vote for him? Hillary Clinton, she scares me. She's like, her cackle in your nightmare. Imagine you open your closet, like at 1 a.m. You're like, oh, you're tired. I want to put my raincoat out for tomorrow, so don't forget. You open your closet and there's Hillary Clinton standing in the closet. Her little grin. You scream really loud. Hillary Clinton, she never seen a war she hasn't loved. And that meme, the Clinton body count. I feel like Hillary Clinton would be the type of queen who would throw her shoe at you if you didn't bring her piss pot fast enough. I feel like if you were her cook and the steak wasn't exactly how she wanted it, she would grab you and have you flogged. You know what I mean? You know how Joffrey Lannister was in Game of Thrones? I think that she'd be a female version of that. That's what I really believe. I truly believe that. They did it to survive, and they did it because of cowardice. Hold up, no, come on. To survive? Well, you can vote with your wallet, voting on the economy, we need to survive. Who's gonna make gas lower? Who's gonna fix inflation? Right? Cowardice? So, I don't think that's people don't vote based on cowardice. I bet you they just thought he was funny, personality, online memes and stuff. In her book, Right Wing Women, Andrea Dworkin writes that conservative white women side with the men around them as a strategy of self-protection, hoping that they will be spared violence. Voting ain't that deep. I mean, it ain't that deep. No one's forcing women to the polls. In fact, there was a women shouldn't vote thing that the right-wingers were saying for a while. But then they feel some women, like Rachel Wilson, will say that they vote how their husbands votes to add weight to them so that the feminists have less voting power. Most women, Dworkin writes, cannot afford either materially or psychologically to recognize that whatever burnt offerings of obedience they bring to beg protection will not appease the angry little gods around them. I've never seen any man drag a woman to vote. Never. Never heard anyone, like their husband, doesn't stand over their shoulder in the voting booth and watch the ballot. So, no one's being forced. No one's being forced. Conservative women are raised with the belief that their womanhood and their whiteness make them worthy of male protection. Oh, that their womanhood make them worthy of male protection? So what's the opposite of that? Men shouldn't protect you because you're a woman? See what she just did there? She thinks it's bad that conservative women were raised with the idea that because they are a woman, that men should protect them. So, the patriarchy she's admitting feels that they need to protect women. She thinks it's bad. See? She's insane. Even if that protection comes at the cost of living out sexist stereotypes. There is a long tradition of women accepting their own subordination as the price of whiteness. Just as male white supremacists worship an unreal fantasy of white womanhood, many actual white women aspire to embody it. To become that princess who will finally be deserving of the care and comfort she was promised. So care and comfort. Why is it bad that women desire care and comfort? So are you saying black women don't want care and they don't want comfort? If she still suffers violence at men's hands, she of course has only herself to blame. She failed to adequately embody that fantasy. No, but there's accountability of, did you pick a bad guy? Like, did he have a criminal record? Did you move too fast in the relationship? Did you not really get to know this person? Or did you not do a background check? Lots of things, right? You can't just say, I'm a victim all the time because I have bad relationships. You gotta acknowledge your role in that so that you can fix your mistakes and make a better choice next time. It's called accountability, honey. If she still suffers violence at men's hands, she of course has only herself to blame. Embody the fantasy, she says. Any honest conversation about R-wording, essay, and consent must be had on terms that are explicitly anti-racist. No, you don't get to tell people the terms they get to talk about those things. Okay? R-wording has always been a weapon of white supremacy. That's not true. No, that's not true at all. So you're telling me nowhere in Africa that occurs? Nowhere in the Middle East? Nowhere in China? Nowhere in Japan? No. That's been a weapon of evil people. You understand? R-wording has been a weapon of shaitan. It's not about race, honey. It's about shaitan. R-wording is a weapon of shaitan. It's not about the steam shade. Just as the fantasy of outsider R-wording has been a tool for justifying its existence. Racism is not incidental to R-word culture. It's essential to the cod patriotic logic that sees women's bodies not just as property, but as territory. Well, yeah, my body is my husband's territory. You bet your bottom dollar. I have nothing wrong with that. He's my territory. Why do women get so jealous and possessive? Why'd you like that girl's, pic? Why did you smile at so-and-so? There was a soccer player. He was getting interviewed. He kicked a goal, won the game, and he's talking to a very busty reporter. She's letting it all hang out, very unprofessional. And his girlfriend goes and puts her arm around him, and she starts nibbling on his ear and being very flirtatious, like a cat, marking her territory. And the women were making fun of her. She's insecure, she's this, she's that, and he kissed her and everything. But women mark their territory all the time. You'll see this constantly. Constantly. You go out to eat with your husband, women will see another beautiful lady at a table. She'll start hugging, nuzzling, marking your territory. That's what they do. Play with their hair, they self-groom, they body check. They go like this, they're marking their territory. Also, when the husband's looking away, they'll make like a mean face, like, he's fine, They do it all the time. All the time. My husband is my property, and he's my territory. Take that, feminists. Time and again, that's why what's lawful and unlawful. Men are not allowed to touch women who are unlawful for them. Your wife, she's yours, and you are hers. Time and again, when self-professed patriots engage in post-Oedipal masturbatory fantasies about the motherland, that's a kind of funny word, I gotta admit. The land is imagined as female, to make it clear that they own her, not the other way around. Well, because growth, right? Women in the womb, we grow babies. Soil, feminists say Mother Earth. Hold up, that's right. So, Mother Nature, Mother Earth. The feminist occultist chicks do this all the time. So if men say, our motherland, because the culture, the nation feeds the people with the food, the produce, the water, the air, nutrients, nourishes, right? Helps you to grow. The food, the air, the soil, the water, right? So when metaphorically, it makes sense, right? The rain is like the male sperm, and it fertilizes the soil so it can grow, right? And the soil is the womb, and life comes forth. When a woman gives birth, life comes out of her, right? And blood is a good fertilizer for the soil, and makes things grow from it. You have to realize that she's a hypocrite here. So it's okay to say Mother Earth. Oh, we're poisoning Mother Earth. Mother Nature's mad at us. So you can anthropomorphize and assign gender to the Earth. But if you say the Mother Homeland, that's bad. Like, ships are called female because they're pregnant with their supplies and then they unload that burden onto the dock. And it's filled with seamen. Get it? Sea men of the sea, but also semen, your sperm, in the ship. You see that? There's a lot of language that's very interesting. The ship is filled with semen. She's pregnant with her supplies. She's gonna dock and, birth up those supplies, be unloaded of her burden, just like a mother gives birth. Okay? There's so much you could say. But it's nothing wrong with calling it the homeland. Calling it female. Okay. White women cannot escape white womanhood or the history of complicity they were born to, but we can and should actively attempt to reclaim it from the racist anti-feminism of the modern age. White supremacy is an open invitation to white women to moderate their demands for liberation. You are liberated, honey. Ain't no way that you're not liberated in America in 2024. No one's stopping you from getting a cell phone. You're given a social security number. Okay? If you are held hostage, that's illegal. Alright? Just because you can't abort a baby at 9 months or do post-birth abortion doesn't mean you're not free. You can get any job you want. You apply for the job. You can do literally fentanyl on the street and sleep and poop yourself and no one will care. That's how free you are. You're so free in America that you can defecate in the streets and you won't even get in trouble. Okay? That's how broken America is. So for her acting like she's some chained up lady to the wall, like this is like some porno fantasy for her in a weird way. I'm so oppressed. Men are oppressing me. It's like some BDSM fantasy. You know, just quite insane. To accept a place on the pedestal built by and on the bodies of women who never get to be considered victims worthy of protection. Well, that is life, huh? That is life. She is not. What about all the men who died in wars? Do their bones, which are resting in the soil right now, count? What about all the men who get injured doing infrastructure jobs? What about all the men who caught a nasty disease by putting some plumbing in, fixing it in the sewage lines? What about them? What about men working in the coal mines who got black lung? Okay? So that you could have your smartphone. What about the men, this book is printed on paper, who work in the lumber yards? Who have to go and work in logging. And then a log, have you seen what a log does if it rolls off and crushes your foot? That's it for you. If you fall down and it goes onto your arm, it's gonna crush your arm like a chicken bone, okay? Dunzo. You are an amputee. You are a cripple. Got it? So, all the men around you who are roofing, they're hot summer day, they're putting pipes down, all the electricians, what about them? Are they worthy of protection? What about police officers who, you have some gangbanger chick breaking into your apartment, you call 911 because you don't have a firearm, and then there's an officer, usually male, coming in, handling business for you, saving you from another evil woman. This is why I like watching true crime, because you see how wicked some women really are. And it's men who will protect me from other wicked women. If I can't knock her out, I'm gonna call my husband. My husband gonna help me. You know, it's his job to protect me and my children. So, everyone has to earn their protection. Like, the police are there to protect, hopefully, inshallah, everybody, ideally, right? But in interpersonal communication, interpersonal relations, we see constantly that someone will be being attacked on the street and people will whip out their phones. Or women, when they see two fat men rolling around in the street who are homeless and stink, are the women going there saying, "We'll protect you, fat, obese, homeless man"? No, they're not. Are they? They don't do that. So why do you want treatment that you don't give to others? Isn't it the do unto others as you'd have them do unto you? Treat others how you want to be treated? Is this lady saying she hates white, heterosexual Christian males? So what if there's a fat Christian male who needs help and he's being mugged? Are you going to rescue him? Is he worthy of your protection? Something to think about. Something to really analyze. I don't trust her. I don't trust her. Next time a feminist tells you, like, you think my body is your property. You think I'm your territory. You should, like, as a woman, right? Men can't really say this, but you should be like, yeah. I like that. Yeah, that's kinky. Like, teaser. Like, big. I get so mad. How dare you? I'm offended. It's like, sorry, yeah, my husband. That's my stag. That's my stallion. If I have a horse in the barn, you can't steal my horse. You can't saddle my horse. It has permission to touch my horse. Right? These feminists will walk their dogs, and they're like, oh, you know, somebody need... People, they'll have the dogs on a leash, and they'll say, like, oh, is it okay if my dog, you know, sniffs your dog? And like, yeah, sure. Because that's that person. That dog is that feminist property. I can't just walk up to that dog and pet it. She'll be like, oh, it has permission. It's my dog. It's my fur baby. So, but if a man says, that's my wife, better not disrespect my wife. Better watch how you talk to my wife. All of a sudden, oh, how dare you call her your property and territory? Don't you know she's autonomous? Don't you know that? How dare you? She doesn't belong to you. Actually, we belong to each other. Oh my god, I'm so offended. I'm gonna go dye my hair blue again. Like a poisonous frog. It's just... These ladies are crazy. Man, this has been a journey, fam. She has given me a good needed laugh. Okay, I hope you enjoyed. And please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to support my work, I'm not monetized, or read other things that I write, you can do so by going to www.subscribestar.com/MilhanArchive. Hope to see you there. And take care. Go touch your husband. He's your property. He belongs to you, okay? That's your territory. You go mark that territory. You go patrol that territory.